I'm about to The Daily Dirt with Dustin Diggs. The Daily Dirt with Dustin Diggs.
All right, welcome to a special edition of the Daily Dirt with Dustin Diggs. Shaelyn Rolf is here. Yes.
How you doing?
We met on a show. That's all I'm going to say about that. I'm not going to give any other shout-outs to that. But we met on a show a couple years ago, and it was kind of funny because then Keenan was telling me that he hung out with you, and I'm like, oh my God, I know her from back in the day. So it's kind of a weird combination, you guys hanging out together.
She's a fun person to hang out with. Yeah. Y'all can't be like, oh, he's saying yeah. But no, she's definitely a good friend. I thank you for coming to me with that show we did a few weeks ago on Friday night. It was fun.
It was fun. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that was talk about the show.
So we went to first off, shout out to Rocky Maverick for the tickets. We went there. It was like late at night, like 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock. We got there. It was a lot of actors. It was his birthday and some others. So we got up to a few. We saw a few of the artists there, but we had to leave early because she had to go take care of something. But it was definitely a good show. And again, thank you for being my company partner there. And of course, everyone did their thing. So it was cool. And also went to 2 of her shows last week and then a few weeks before. And, wonderful performance that you've been doing.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I'm on the website here. So you just played last weekend at the Blueberry Hill, the Duck Room, the famous Duck Room. Talk about that show.
Oh, it was great. So that was a show we decided was going to be inspired by the 90s. So we did a lot of female pop rock anthems. Okay, so we did some Sheryl Crow, some Melissa Etheridge, some Alanis Morissette, and then because we had the full band together, Jay and I were able to debut. We pretty much performed our entire album that we're going to be releasing here in the next 6 months. So that was really cool because we had the full band, because we write these songs acoustically, right? So our drummer, Marty, he's great. He teaches at the School of Rock. And then, of course, I had Jenny on violin, Z on sax. I had a new artist that I'm actually working with. Her name's Liv, and she's from St. Louis. And she studied at a conservatory, so she has a beautiful voice. So we debuted her song that we've been working on. And then I had Tilton on bass, and it was just a really fun, rocky show.
That's my boy right there.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you have a good story because you actually used to live in L.A., which we'll talk about. So, but did you grow up in St. Louis?
I did, yeah. I grew up on the south side. I grew up in South City, right by Carondelet Park. My family has a lot of history in St. Louis. So my dad was an electrician for the city for 35 years. And my grandfather was actually the superintendent of the lighting department. Oh, wow. Yeah. So we have some deep roots here.
And then, so what was it when you went to LA? Talk about, because that's a huge step to take that journey and go out to LA. So
I was actually discovered. It was a true discovery. So back in, it was right after I got home from school. I went to Missouri State University, and of course, when I was there, I was in the marching band, and I was in the all-female a cappella group, the Bellas. Yep. And I came home, and I didn't have music anymore, and I just felt like something was missing, and so I at the time, Craigslist was where you found gigs, right? Now this is back in like 2013. Okay, so this is 10 years ago, and so Craigslist was the place to go, and so I went on Craigslist. I got cast in a film. And I was this vampire that sang. I was like a siren vampire, right? Yeah. And so the director of that film introduced me to a man named Walter. And I talked to Walter, and Walter heard, I performed for him. And he said, you need to go to Vegas. You need to go to the Core DJ Mix Show Live. It was like 2 weeks away. And at the time, I only had one single. It was called End of the World. And it was a power pop song. Jeff Smith in Springfield actually produced that one for me. Yep, at Studio 2100. Yep. Shout out to Jeff Smith. He's a huge part of my history. So I went there, and I had one CD pressed. I handed it out to everyone that I could meet. And then I was singing for someone on camera. Someone was interviewing me, right? Someone was interviewing me. And I sang a song, and the right person, his name was Ted Teddy, and he was a big radio promoter for the Core DJ, for the Core DJs. And he said, I need you to, and I sang I'm Going Down by Mary J. Blige. And so he said, I need you to sing for someone. And I said, okay. So it was crazy. We were at the Palms, and he pulled me behind the VIP rope, and there was this couple sitting there, and he said, sing exactly what you just sang right now. And I did. And the man that was on the phone, his name was Chris Pringle. He put down his phone. He said, we're taking you to dinner, handed me his card. And he said, sit here, don't go anywhere. Well, Chris actually worked for RCA Records. He was,
Oh, wow.
Yeah, yeah.
Crazy.
So yeah,
That's
it's
a great
crazy.
story.
So he was, he did street promotion for Christina Aguilera. He worked very closely with Mary J. Blige, which is wild because I didn't know who I just sang for. And so,
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
This is great.
Yeah. So they sent me back to St. Louis. And they said, we're going to put you with a producer and we want you to come back out in 2.5 weeks. And I said, okay. And I didn't tell anybody what I was doing. And I was working at Lorenzo's Trattoria at the time as a bartender. I picked up a second job at what was Truman's. And I saved a bunch of money. And I went out to Los Angeles and I met, his name is Gregory Hutchinson. He goes by Cold 187 UM. He was in Above the Law. He was just on Dr. Dre's album, straight out of, or the second Compton one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I met with him and we did an EP and they took that to, they took it to a couple different labels. I'm not going to, the deals didn't work out. They weren't good deals. So, that was fine. And I just worked with him really closely. And then unfortunately, like 2 weeks later, 2 or 3 weeks later, they were like, we want you to move here. We're going to move you here. We're going to sign you to a management contract and we're going to start your career. And I said, okay. Yep. So I saved all my money. I didn't tell anyone what I was doing. The day I left is when I told my parents, so no one could talk me out of it. my mom was so mad at me. She goes, "You're doing what?" And she's like, "Well, I'm coming with you. Like, I'm not going to let you drive to LA by yourself." So 28 hours later, we were in Los Angeles. They put me up in a nice apartment. And I got a job at like this little bar during the day in El Segundo. And then at night I was singing for red carpets in Beverly Hills.
That's great.
Yeah, it was wild. And then, so I was, making these records. It was CM3 Records at the time. I was working very closely with Callie Barnes. I was featured on some of his stuff. Hutch had me featured on one of his albums, The Big Hit, so I could be introduced properly. And then Chris passed. He passed away. And that was the last time I had a really solid manager. And
condolences.
Yeah, and
wow.
so after that happened, I went behind the scenes. So I was a ghostwriter in the West Coast hip hop industry. I was in a deep state of grief, and I just kind of worked my way through the scene there. And I did. I studied media in school and I did websites and at the time Facebook business pages was new. So not everyone was, e-commerce was kind of still a new thing.
Yeah.
So I would work a lot with people that owned these studios and I would take their brand online and in exchange, I would get studio time.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I would do an even trade. And so I made some records. I worked with some producers. I had a deal in Dallas. I got moved to Dallas. That didn't work out. Came back to LA. I made a catalog. My catalog got sold. And then I met a band. I was performing. So I met a rock band. I met this group, Eliza, Christian, and oh gosh, I can't remember his name right now, but the drummer and Loris. And they lived in Trento, Italy. So they were from Trento, Italy. And it's this beautiful little town in the Valley of the Alps. And they actually were there to study at the Hollywood School of Music. They were graduates of the conservatory there in Trento. And so we were performing at these major venues. We performed at Molly Malone's. We performed at the House of Blues on Sunset before it got torn down.
Yeah.
Yep. We performed at the Viper Room. We performed at the Roxy. So we were just kind of doing our thing.
Yeah.
They had to go back because their visa expired. And then I went over there. And that was kind of my parting with LA. So I went and I lived in Trento, Italy and made some amazing music with them. And then I came back here really just to work on my family relationships. Over the course of that, 6-7 years, like my family relationships really suffered. And I didn't like what that felt like. So I came back here and I stayed, right? The pandemic hit and I just decided to stay. So now I'm doing my thing here.
That's a hell of a resume.
You did that within 5 minutes. That was good.
That's gonna be an HBO documentary.
So when you were in LA though, so for the other artists that listen, so they're having you do these red carpet events just to kind of get you kind of used to performing and kind of getting into the scene. Is that what the point was, to have you perform at these red carpet events?
Yep. So I was performing at a lot of fundraisers. I performed for I was standing next to celebrities. I was standing next to celebrity makeup artists and they just put me on the carpet like I was already some huge artist.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Proud
So
moment.
they really introduced. Chris had the connections to he basically just dropped me in the scene, which was crazy because these people were pulling up, in like these slick BMWs, these like Ferraris and Lamborghinis and Maseratis. And like I was getting dropped off in an Uber after I just worked a shift at the restaurant, you know, like buying my dresses in the fashion district. And like no one knew, right? And they took me to the recording academy and my project got passed off to them. And I was up for a couple Grammy nomination considerations and then it just kind of spiraled from there. I just stayed working with the people that worked with me in the beginning. And then I just kind of like moved from music house to music house. And it was wild. Like I would be in the studio 4 or 5 nights a week working with these major hip hop stars. And I would, they would pass me a blunt. I'd smoke a blunt. Yeah. I'd drop some bars for them. They'd take them, rework them, and go with it. And then I would get studio time out of it. And then I met this woman. Her name's Lizante Franklin, and she further really changed my life. So she was a pop writer. She was under Rodney Jerkins. She was under Darkchild back in the day, and then she was under Sony. She wrote Telephone for Lady Gaga and Beyonce. Okay. And I started working very closely with her. She actually turned into one of my best friends, and she helped me navigate the pop side. So she was like, okay, you're behind the scenes. You're a writer now. What do you want to do? And I'm like, well, I really want to get into like rock and pop. Like I kind of want to like, yeah, of course I can stay writing hip hop, but that's not really who I am as an artist, right? Yeah. Like it's just a part of it. So she really helped me navigate what it meant to be an independent artist.
So you were writing like hooks for hip hop, I guess? Like hooks.
I was writing bars for hip hop too.
Really? Wow.
So basically kind of like just like mixing up the genres, but like trying to stay intact with just one thing, basically.
Yeah, because I'm a writer before anything else. So I would come up with these really clever play on words. And they really liked it, and then they would just flow. And a lot of times, too, and I'm a flute player, too, so I played flute for 25 years, and I laid my flute down on a lot of hip-hop records.
Ooh, man, that's a good mix. It's kind of like the Boondocks when they have the crescent and you hear that flute with the beat. It's like, it's actually beautiful.
Yeah, it was fun.
So, like, ghostwriting, so what does that mean for people out there with what ghostwriting is? That means you helped out with the song, would you maybe not be in the credits?
You'll never get credit. Oh. So you sign a document that says, for me, sometimes I took cash, but most of the time I took studio time because the studios out there are thousands of dollars an hour.
Oh, I bet. Yeah.
Yeah. So
big city.
Yeah, it's huge. Yeah. And they were really well-known studios. And I also got introduced to a lot of major producers that way. And so when you ghostwrite, you're not mentioned on the track. You're not featured on the track. The public will never know that you wrote the music that you wrote, but you get something in exchange. Right. A lot of people will just get a payout. I didn't want the payout. I wanted the studio time and the connections, and that's what I got. And I'm glad that I did that.
I'm proud of that.
All right. So being in St. Louis, is this something you want to go? Are you going to plan to ever go back to LA eventually, or you think now with the music scene the way it is, that it's not just in LA anymore? Obviously, it's probably Atlanta, different places like that you could go.
Yeah. So I really like what's going on in St. Louis right now. I think we have a wave that's about to really.
I heard people talking about that. Now, what do you mean by a wave?
Yeah, so St. Louis is obviously really rich in music history. Yeah. Okay, but it's one of those places that all of the people that have made it really big in St. Louis have left St. Louis at one time or another. Yeah. Now we have this music community where we have all of these local independent artists that are doing these incredible things in the media, in the music scene in St. Louis, worldwide, and they're staying here. So it's almost like people are coming to us now. We got Music at the Intersection going. That's a new festival. I know they just did like the Urban Expo. That was really big. Yeah. So I think, and it has to go with affordability too, right? So like where are the people moving to? They're moving to these cities that are more affordable now. Like we're in an economic crisis. Yeah. So it's not really feasible for a lot of young artists, especially independent artists, to live in these bigger cities that cost a lot of money. And we have some really talented people here that they like staying behind the scenes. They like staying quiet. And I think I'll stay. I mean, obviously I want to go on tour. That's a huge goal. So we're kind of like preparing for that, like performing at like bigger venues here and really garnishing that fan base. But it's nice to be able to be connected again to my original fan base, right? Like these are people that have been with me for like 10 years now. So for them to be able to see me go from literally one song and work my way through LA, work my way through Italy, and then come back and have a platform to stand on, and I can like look at their faces when I'm performing, like that's a really special thing. Yeah.
And I think you said like with history, for St. Louis, I wish I was born back in the day, but like, back then, like in the 50s, 60s, music was it wasn't really new, but it was really like improving, especially for like for us. You know, we had the blues, we had the old rock and roll, we had like the jazz and all that. Like, okay, Chuck Berry, like possibly one of the greatest guitarists out there. You know, he made a name himself, and I think he was a St. Louis native, or he was
no, he lived in Wentzville.
Yeah, so like people like him, or people like like Muddy Water, like just whoever. You know, the Midwest is always like the music city, but never gets mentioned a lot, and that's kind of like a thing. And for your case, you definitely want to try to get the music back up there, and for all of us to kind of come together as a musical community. But sometimes you can't do that with everybody.
Yeah, we had to really come together. I think like the biggest thing, and I went to a town hall. I went to a music town hall with this guy named Julian. He runs the Jewel Box, and we discussed that a lot at that town hall. How artists really have to start supporting other artists. I think that's the biggest gap here is we think we're in competition with each other, but in reality we're not, because we all have different fan bases and we all have different level of those fans, right? Like we don't see a lot of like cross with the fan base. I don't really personally believe. I haven't seen that yet. I think if we start exposing each other to each other's fan bases, like that will really just like hold the movement and like keep it in its momentum.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you feel like, because I've talked to a lot of people, St. Louis artists, but I think that you kind of sound different to me is because you've actually went out to LA, you've been to Italy, you've been outside St. Louis and kind of came back. So you have a different kind of perspective, I think. Do you feel like that when you talk to other St. Louis artists sometimes? Yeah,
I think the most valuable thing that, especially because we are we're a big town, right? Like there's 3 degrees of separation between everybody here. And our city has been divided for like quite a long time. So, I think the most valuable thing for an artist is to go out and live somewhere else and explore the sound of other cultures and then adapt those cultures to your sound, right? Like that's diversifying who you are as an artist. Like right now I'm really stuck on, I found some artists from, her name's Simi. She sings in Zulu and I love the way that sounds. I love the drum pattern. I love the feeling. It just feels really good. Anything that feels really good, I try to latch on to and I get really inspired. I'm like, okay, well, I really like how her vocal line did this here. So how do I do something that emulates that or is inspired by that, right? And that, if more artists would do that, I think it would really diversify their sound.
Do you feel like, because you've been doing this a long time, if you listen back to the stuff before you left for LA, does that make you cringe, or is it kind of like, because obviously you've probably grown as an artist. Yeah. Is it hard for you to listen to some of the old stuff that you've done?
No, I love it. Yeah. Any song that I ever released, any song that I ever made. Now there's a couple of them. Especially when I was working on my catalog project with Shaq. His name's Shaq. His name's Shakir Muwakil. Yeah. We made some stuff. It was very 90s, Aaliyah inspired, like very R&B centered. That was the goal of the project at the time. We were working with Universal. And some of those I cringe on because I'm like, I don't know, right? Because it wasn't really like my style. It was more of this was the project. This is what you should do. But anything that I genuinely released from the time that I started up until now, I wouldn't say it's like a cringe thing. It's just, okay, I see how my sound has grown, right? Because I didn't have the right engineer. That is finding a good engineer is always so hard. Oh my gosh, it's always so hard.
You changed me, girl.
It's always something, so, and that's fine. But yeah, so I can hear the growth and I'm like, okay, but to start out, I got discovered like that wasn't that bad. Yeah. Yeah. End of the World was great. In fact, my little cousins still love it. They want me to re-release it, but.
Oh.
See, I don't mind going back to LA. And I've been there, 2008. I was only there for like 3 days. But, I know the music there, let alone just the entertainment. It's worldwide. LA is kind of like the center of entertainment. So, was there ever any not too much bad moments, but was there just things where it's you try to avoid right away from there, or you just kind of just flow with it?
No, I was always, I floated. I always flowed with it. I was floating from music house to music house, from nightclub to after party to this and that. I met so many people, so many people in so many different industries, but they all loved, they all love music. They all love Hollywood. They all love that. So no, very much a floater. Mm-hmm.
Sound like that. I need to go back. Let's go back.
Have you ever
heard... we should go back. I love it. I love Los Angeles. Some of my biggest allies are in LA and I just adore them.
Have you ever heard Keenan freestyle?
No.
You never freestyled for her?
Really?
No. Can you freestyle?
God.
Will you freestyle for me?
Yeah, I was on the spot. God damn it.
Well, she can give you some pointers. She can be your ghostwriter.
Because I know I can sing too. Like, we never did that before yet. We need to have like a sing off. Fuck. Okay, so I gotta come up with something different. I did one last night. Ooh, I wish I could know this off the top of my head. Because I actually wrote something
Well,
down.
you've been to her show. You probably know some of her songs, right? You should probably start with that. No?
First show, beforehand, first show, it was her Stevie Nicks tribute, which was actually good. But then the ninth one, it was definitely like a mix-up. I'm like, man, that's just all nostalgic. But man, because, I mean, she sings.
Look, I'm looking for a feeture on Good Girl, though.
Okay.
Yeah, here, we can play it. Here, let me play it right now. This is it right here?
Yeah, this is Good Girl, yeah.
All right, so, yeah, here.
I got to think again, damn it.
Just wait it out. Just wait it out.
Why, oh my, do I feel like this? My, oh why, do you have this effect on me? I keep thinking about you late at night when my head hits the pillow.
I can't wait to see what you do.
Now, do you have an instrumental for that one?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I own
We can
it.
find that. That'll be good.
Yep, I own this one.
I see an instrumental. Rise up, going goes down. Never try to make it all around. I was a champ from the day I was born. Never try to tell me what I was born. I walk my streets, I come with the heat. Everybody trying to get mad at me cause I'm just me. And that's Shaelyn, but they call me Key. We open the door, we set my waist free.
All right.
All right. She'll get back to you, Keenan.
No, I mean, I put you on the spot.
I'll be waiting.
Props to you.
So talk about Good Girl. Obviously, this is what you're pushing on the webpage.
Yep.
When did this come out?
This came out on the 21st of July, so it is brand new.
Brand new.
Yep, brand new.
Now I would say though, at the first time at the Blue Duck Room, honestly, I definitely like this style. I like the style of the restaurant. I like the whole just interior, like just nostalgic from the toys, games, like the history of music, especially just like stuff I never had. Because there's like one hallway where it's just like pictures of the owner with everybody. I'm like, dude, even just But now you performed at that spot like a few times before, yes. So what, as far as that experience, like what has been some great things about the Blue Duck Room?
I love that place. Number one, it's a huge, like, it's history, right? Like, and actually that was a dream venue for me. That was a bucket list item. So the first time we performed was in the Elvis room in the basement, the small one.
Okay.
Not the duck room, the small one, right? Yeah. And like, it's so funny because Jay, you know, he's tall. He's like 6'4" or something.
He's a good kid.
Yeah, and his head was almost hitting the ceiling, and everyone was crammed in there. I mean, I know that we just like lit the bar up because everyone was turned that night, and then we really had to work to get on that big stage. So, no, I just love it. I think that it's somewhere that I always wanted to perform. Like I knew, because you work towards little things with the music industry, right? Like you don't just go, oh my God, I want to be, you know, on a world tour, but you have to do things to get there. So you have to do these little things, and the little things really matter. And the Duck Room is one of them. Yeah.
So I definitely want to go back there for food, though. We
their food's great.
Go
ahead.
No, go.
Yeah, because then it was funny. Like this is my second time seeing her perform. Now the first place, if I could get the name right,
it was Blue Strawberry.
Yeah, no, that was a nice place too. Now,
yeah, that's a jazz venue. Traditionally speaking, that's a jazz venue.
Yeah, I saw one of my friends there, and like that was like the first time. And we've been friends for this long, and this is the first time I seen her perform. I'm like, okay, you know, she got that style, man. Yeah. So like, compared to that one, that was a whole Stevie Nicks tribute.
Yeah, so that was deliberate. Stevie Nicks is a huge inspiration of mine. Mm-hmm.
So I know you went out of town for that concert.
Yeah, I did. I totally did. My mom took me to see Stevie Nicks and Billy Joel in Nashville, and that was awesome. Seeing her live. I've always followed her. I just love her style. And the relationship. So what's so interesting is like it was her and Lindsey Buckingham, right? And her story is really incredible because she faced a lot of adversity before she got to where she was. And the reason why she got to where she was is because Mick Fleetwood approached Lindsey Buckingham and was like, hey, we want you in our band. And he was like, well, Stevie and I are a package deal. You have to take Stevie if you take me. And so that's how that really transpired. Yeah. So Jay and I have a lot of similarities to that. And when Jay and I first got together, because Jay is a blues guitarist through and through. Okay. That's his, we actually met at the National Blues Museum. We were there for a jam night. And so I brought like the pop and like the rock vibe, and he has this like smooth blues but with a little bit of rock, like Jimi Hendrix and Stevie Ray Vaughan. And so we decided, okay, so we're gonna stick together and this is gonna be our sound. So but at the time that we did the Blue Strawberry show, he was actually in New Orleans on tour with Silky Soul, I believe. So he wasn't able to do it, but I really wanted to give my fans an unplugged version of my inspirations. So that's what we're doing now with these shows. It's inspirations of. So I did inspirations of Stevie Nicks. I did the inspirations of the 90s. And the next performance we have is going to be at Music at the Intersection.
Growing up that you had their CD or, you know, listen to their albums or watched them on MTV. I don't know, people.
From TRL.
There used to be a TV station that played music
No, I loved
videos.
MTV. I was always on MTV and VH1, always.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think, you know, there's a lot. Obviously, from the pop side, you've got the pop princesses. So you got Britney Spears.
Yeah.
You've got Christina Aguilera. I listened to a ton of Beyonce, Destiny's Child. Anyone that basically came up under the Dark Child label, I listened to heavily in the 90s for female rock that I really can't, like, pull necessarily right
I was saying
now.
like Joanne Jett, I think.
Yeah,
Was she
Joan
like
Jett was
80s
big.
too? Was she 90s or 80s?
I have no idea. I couldn't tell you. But I love their music, right? Yeah, I had a bunch of CDs. And then I had all the like the classic like 90s grunge bands. So I had Hanson. I loved them. I loved Hanson. Okay.
Hanson? Okay. Well, you had me till Hanson, but yes.
I loved Hanson. I was little. I was like 9 years old. It was my first cassette tape I ever bought. Mbop was a huge hit. It's one of the hardest songs to cover. Mbop is really, we were going to cover it at the last show and we rehearsed it and I was like, we definitely can't do this. We cut it from the set list. We did. We cut quite a few. I was like, no, I don't think we should do this one.
Yeah, I definitely liked your sound because I listened to your other album a couple of years ago. You sent me a link and I was trying to look for it on your Spotify, but I really liked that album that you had.
Oh, Sexy Dancy Vibes? Yeah, that one was fun.
Yeah, that was a good one.
That one was really so that was my like experimental era. So my friend Scotty brought me to this guy, Ian Anderson, and now he's a firefighter in Yosemite. He's awesome. Yeah, he's really cool. He's actually, we decided, I just talked to him, I don't know, like a month ago. He's going to we're going to do another album this winter. Okay. So I'm really looking forward to that because he is electronically based. And I love that. I love the electronic stuff.
Yeah.
But I'm very much like a band kind of guitar and voice and just mess it all up and just like add all of these crazy effects. And people really liked it. Mercedes hit #2 in Chicago. And Dewey Weather did exceptional. That album played all over the world. That got me a huge fan base in Europe, actually. Yeah, that was like kind of the vibe then.
That was a good. Yeah, it was just because when you sent it to me, I was like, I wasn't sure what to expect, but I was like, holy shit, this is fucking good. I actually put it on my playlist and I was listening to it. It was good. Yeah, your voice goes great with like it. Probably goes good with the band, but I'm saying with the electronic sound, it just something about that.
No, I love doing the electronic stuff. I love it. I'll do that all day.
Yeah.
See, man, y'all lucky. During my 90s, like my mom, you know, my whole family by far, you know, they're the gospel type of people. Not saying I have anything bad against it. It's just I guess it kind of, you know, stuck with me because I never really had like a lot of like 90s inspired music peoples. I mean, if anybody, rock be like Metallica or something like that, but like boy band wise, you know, Backstreet Boys and NSYNC. What's his name? Can we Tevin Campbell?
Just sing my sing that.
Can we talk for a minute? Hey. Girl, I wanna know your name. See, like I can sing more than I can rap.
That's great. No, yeah, of course. Oh my God, you have a smooth voice. Love it.
Thank you.
I gotta feature you on something. I'll find something to feature you on.
See, look at that. I got on the spot.
I missed the show. I was wanting to go. Did you go out there and dance when she was doing performing? Did you steal the dance floor?
For the last one?
Yeah, the last one, yeah.
I could have, but I'm like, I want to sit here and let her perform. This is her time to shine. You know, I got to give it to her.
It was a really serious show, actually.
I could tell.
Yeah, it was on a Sunday night. It was really intimate. And like anytime I have a show in St. Louis that is in that kind of setting, these are my like original fans, okay? And these people are extremely judgmental, okay? So I have to put on like an A+ performance for them, and it's nerve-wracking because they literally, it's great, but they will sit there and listen so intently, like so intently. And I actually had I had someone come out from Houston, and yeah, I had someone come out from Houston, you know, so that was like a really serious show for us. But I think as far as a band goes, that was our best performance. So
because you have played like, you know, dance style songs before, but like, yeah, everyone would just be sitting on their chairs just listening. And there's been a lot of other shows I've been to, like, yeah, you know, everyone can be dance with everybody. I mean, there's gonna be times where it's like, maybe not depending on the venue, but depending on the band itself, you know, you're just vibing out to it. Yeah,
that's what I've noticed at our audience when there's shows that it's us. And you know, it's something that the crowd's not already there, right? So right now we're working on getting booked to the Western. We're working on getting booked to Tin Roof because those people are there to just listen to a band and have a good time. But when people come to, you know, the Duck Room or Blue Strawberry or any one of those kind of shows, they are there to sit and listen. Like a lounge. Yeah, right, it's very much like they want to see a good show, and they do. They just sit there and they're like,
think about that.
I've been to clubs like that in New York's like that.
Yeah. But I mean, like I say, what I do like about you as a person and also just as a performer, you know, you definitely have like, how can I say that word right? Like that 90s aesthetic. You definitely keep it classy. Thanks. You know how to kind of, you know, you read the room well. You also just have like a very nice inspiration of music creations when it comes to your style. So I definitely like that about you. Now, and I may not call out names, even if I don't know them, but like, has there ever been a time at any show had like someone kind of like just been a bother like throughout the audience, or just like, has there been like a bother at any show you ever did?
Yes, and security removes them immediately. That actually happened at the Duck Room. Someone got removed by security.
So I didn't even see that. Oh.
Yeah, that's how good
it wasn't me, y'all. It wasn't me.
No, I
was a good boy.
The good thing is that people here, they take me really seriously, and they really do. They respect what we do, and I appreciate that, because the venues that we perform at, the security there is top notch. Yeah. And I saw it because I can see everything, right? It's a small room, the Duck Room's small. So I saw it. I saw him get escorted out by like 3 different security officers, and I was like, I wonder what happened there.
I didn't know who. I missed it.
I texted him after. I was like, what happened? He's like, you know, people are they're just so, and I'm like, you did something.
Like,
then I found out what he did, and I was like, wow, okay, I see why they. Yeah,
I mean, I've been in a show where people get drunk and like, okay, they can't hold their liquor, but you know, like some people can be tolerable. Like, okay, one beer, pal.
Usually it happens at the end of the show.
It gets crazy.
Yes. Yeah, no, it was in the middle. I saw it, and I was like, okay.
Now, hopefully, you never got kicked out of a show.
Who, me?
Yeah.
Oh, never.
You're a good boy.
Always good.
He says that now.
Just want to kind of touch base on the website. So
yeah.
So here, I'll cut to it for the audience. So I clicked on the fashion page. So you have merchandise that you sell.
I do. Yeah, those are original designs too.
Oh yes, and it was actually cool. I actually met your designer. He's a really nice guy.
Oh, Eddie?
Yes.
I love Eddie. Yeah, so Eddie's not on the website because Eddie does these. Okay, so his name's Eddie Hendricks. Okay, that's his line. He's incredible. We're gonna wear it at the Beyonce concert tomorrow night. We're super excited. No, he makes these rock star jackets by hand. Okay, and I'll divulge. One time I was at Dr. Dre's studio, and I met Sly Piper, who is, you know, a huge hip hop artist, and he also plays a flute. And he wanted one. Like Eddie's got great style, and they're handmade, and they're heavy, and they're one of a kind.
Mm-hmm. I think I've seen you a couple of photos you probably had with that jacket.
Oh yeah, with the fringe and the studs. Yeah, they're great.
Well,
I will say this right now, and I'm just gonna be blunt about it. You do look sexy in the jackets. It's just
Thank you.
I want something like that too.
All right. Well, we want to talk about this too because
Yes, we have to. We absolutely have to.
This is a St. Louis Cardinals purse.
Yes.
Now, tell the backstory on this purse.
Okay, so they contacted me. Here it is right here.
The camera's not going to got moving.
Hold on. There we go. Yeah. Okay, it's beautiful. So this is the backed by popular demand, the exclusive Busch Stadium St. Louis Cardinals purse. It will be given out to 25,000 fans ages 16 and older on September 2nd, Saturday, September 2nd. Go to the website, and if tickets are as low as $10, if you use promo code STL Purse.
All right. Cardinals aren't doing too well, so
they are not. It's okay. We're rebuilding. We're rebuilding. It's a rebuilding year for us.
But at least you'll have a nice purse next season when their team's doing really well.
Yeah, it's great. And the inside, it's like, okay, I kind of have stuff in it, but it's like this beautiful red color, and it has this like awesome chain. You can like hang it in front. Okay, so like it's super cute.
Very nice.
It's super cute. Yeah, and then like if you unhook it, it has like a long chain like on my Instagram. But yeah, I have the link in bio on my Instagram. These are my selfies. So yeah, you just click it, use code STL Purse, and you can get a ticket for as cheap as $10. Get a purse. And it's sponsored by Wells Fargo Advisors. I have to say that. Now,
I don't know if you said this yet or have done it before. Would you ever do the national anthem for any sports team?
Yes, I would love to. Do you know how hard that song is to sing? It is so hard. I sing it all the time in the shower, but yes, I would love to do that. That is a bucket list item.
Now, do you have a certain team? Like, okay, if it's not
obviously,
St. Louis,
I would love to do it in St. Louis for the Cardinals.
But like anybody out of state, any sport.
Well, whoever's.
Or the city, the STL City, the new soccer team.
I still need to go through a game.
Oh,
yeah, me too.
And what about the Battlehawks though?
Oh, I love the Battlehawks. That was fun. I went to the home opener with my friend. My wife showed up. She was like on the field looking all,
So I want to be there.
Regal.
And you better not miss a word because they will hate you for that.
Oh, it was so much fun. No, I would just love the opportunity to do that. Yeah. Especially at Busch Stadium. That's a dream.
Yeah, I thought about that, but I never got a call back.
Yep.
So for your social media, obviously you're on Instagram.
Yep.
Do you have a TikTok page?
I do, but I'm more of a, to be honest with you, I'm more of a consumer of TikTok. I don't really post a lot of TikToks. Yeah. And I know I should probably get on that more. Yeah. Really, I should, but I'm very much a consumer. But
how do artists like?
So that goes through distribution. So what's so interesting is I've actually tried to post my songs on TikTok before they came out, and it got taken down because of copyright. And I'm like, okay, but I am the one that owns it. Yeah. But they, their automatic bots, whatever their system is, I don't know how that works.
Right.
Exactly.
Sometimes we get that too. And it's like it's a song that we made or what. Yeah.
Yeah. No, but you have to do it through your distribution company.
Like Musically wasn't even that much of a problem when I was around.
That was a really cool thing. Yeah. Voicey was really cool. I found like I'm releasing. So I am releasing a new song on September 1st. It's a ballad. Okay. Ooh. I haven't written a ballad in a long time. It's been about 8 years since I wrote a ballad, but this one is gut wrenching. It is sad. It's called Symphony.
Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's sad. It's a heartbreak.
So when you write songs and you come up with songs, like do you have backstories what's your writing process?
Of course. I have a muse. I had a muse.
So, yeah. Okay. So what's your writing process? Do you set a time every day to go and write and create, or do you just, when it comes to you go find that space to go create?
I sing every single day, no matter what. It just is embedded into my life. But no, so I always try. I don't know. It's just sometimes I just feel like writing, and that's when I do it. And I'll, it's something as simple as like Voicey. Voicey was a really cool app because all these producers had their songs on Voicey, and then you could record with effects or whatever. So for Good Girl, I found him on Voicey. And then for Daydreams, I didn't find on Voicey. But for a couple of I have them on my Instagram, a couple of the demos, a Symphony I found on Voicey, right? Yeah. So then what you do is you just go purchase the beat. But it kind of just happens in the moment, like you just catch a hook. And when I first was writing, when I first entered into the music industry professionally, I worked with a guy named Dwayne Durock Ramos, and he actually works with Oprah now. So he's on the OWN network. He does like some of her like intros and songs for her show, something like that, right? But he told me to always go with my first melody. He was like, go with the first one that you come up with, and then just adjust it from there. Yeah. So if I'll just like catch I don't know how or why it happens, but I can just catch a melody. And then once I catch that melody, the words just find they find me naturally, and then I'll go back in and I'll adjust those words based on how I want the song to feel or how I want it to like paint a story, basically. Yeah.
And
Every song has a meaning.
so on Spotify, now if you had to pick your 2 favorite, let's say 3 favorite songs on your Spotify channel, if you're like, hey, check me out, but you have to listen to these 3 songs, which ones would it be?
Good Girl, 100%. Daydreams, 100%. Oof. And then it's a tie.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna say you got a lot of songs.
All right, I'll give you 4.
tie.
I'll give you 4, Shannon.
Okay, I really like Heist. Heist was me introducing myself as a pop hip hop artist. Okay, Heist is a story about being an underdog and basically like it was a story about robbing a bank. And I was told not to do it and I did it anyways. OG Nemo produced it. Yeah, OG Nemo produced it. It's a cool song. And then I would say I really love He Might. I really love what Jay and I did with that. But I also, I love my first ones too. Mercedes is forever. I love Mercedes.
What's the best for an artist watching out here, like to put your music on? Do SoundCloud, Spotify? Is there a preference that you think that you get the best traction, or what's kind of like the process?
It's kind of all over the place.
Yeah. It seems like there's so many, it's so oversaturated with where you can put your stuff in streaming services now.
So I think like Spotify, like now, like anyone can do that. But I mean, with SoundCloud, I guess it was cool back then because how internet music was kind of a thing. But yeah, everything's everything.
Yeah, I think, it's just, okay, the thing that I love about, and I actually work very closely with a digital ad agency, Drive Social Media. And the thing that I learned about how the algorithms work now, it's really catered to us as a consumer. So that's why we distribute, all these distribution companies, they distribute across like 20 or so music platforms because it's all over the world and it's catered to the user's preference. Yeah. Like I prefer Apple Music. I'm an Apple user. The next person might prefer Spotify. I obviously love Tidal because Tidal pays the most. Like they actually pay you a penny per stream. So I wish more people would like get on Tidal. Yeah. But it's really just about whatever the user wants. I don't know. But it's really interesting because I'll find these creators on TikTok and these people on the internet and they're like, hey, send me a link. And I discovered this thing called Song Link, which is what you see on my website. Yeah. And it'll pull it up and it'll pull up all the platforms. So I don't know how I stumbled across that on the internet, but I love that. Because then you can just send a link to someone and they can choose which platform they want to listen on.
Right.
Yeah. So you see how it's like YouTube Music, Apple Music, Spotify, Pandora, whatever you want. And then the consumer can just like click on whatever they want.
I'm going to use Napster for my stuff. Is that even still around?
I have no idea.
I don't think so.
That I don't know.
God, back when we was in high school, we used to do.
I remember it though.
I never used I never used like Pandora or something back then. I used to do. What's it? LimeWire and FrostWire just to pirate the music.
My parents hated me for using LimeWire.
It was bad.
Oh man, I put so many viruses on their computer.
Oh, I bet, yeah.
And my stepdad, he was an environmental engineer. He was a petroleum engineer, so we had in our home like really good computers. We actually had a CD burner before everyone, and I would just download so many albums off of LimeWire. Oh my gosh, my parents wanted to kill me.
One song got the
I
song.
infected their computers so bad. I had no clue. And then do you remember Pirate Bay? I'm gonna really age myself
I do.
now.
I think I heard that a little bit.
Bay? Yeah. So just viruses galore. It's nice that we have streaming now.
Pirating, yes, it is bad, but like again, it's easy. And then I think people just hate to pay for a song. I get it, but okay, let's go make a CD then and put it out in the store. Like. People don't go to CD stores anymore, or at least go to like Walmart or whatever.
Music, it's not a part of their daily lives anymore. Like back in the 80s and 90s, that's the only way that you could listen to music is if you purchased it.
Cassette tapes.
Yep, and then cassette tape, CDs, and then and vinyl, and then the internet came along, and it's just not a part of it, which is really sad because it's like you could buy a song for the price of like a bundle of bananas, okay? But like they just won't do it. It's not about loading up your library anymore. It's a very instant type of thing. And the thing that I think too is with these streaming platforms is the algorithm feeds you music.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
so you don't have to build your own playlist. Like obviously like music curators like us, we build our own playlist. We listen to the specific song. But a lot of people, and I explained this a lot when I was signed to the label, we had a lot of discussion about the consumer. And I said, look, we're getting caught up in the music theory. We're getting caught up in this, that, and the third. But these people on the other end, they're normal people. They have 9-to-5s. They're accountants. They have children that go to school. Like they just listen to music for pleasure. They don't listen to music to critique it.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that we really need to remember. It's like, okay, people aren't going to go seek out new music unless they're music curators, they're in the industry, or they're first adapters, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, when you're a kid, you know, they listen because it sounds awesome. But I think as an adult, we really listen to it, and then there is a story behind that we kind of learn from it, you know.
Little thing of heist real fast. Keep talking.
Yeah, because like I said, I grew up like playing games, so I mean, I can hear music from there, like whether it be like a football or Tony Hawk. It's like, okay, you know, punk rock, whatever. But throughout time, you know, I can give you like a whole list full of bands and say I like them because I like that style. But yeah, there are some that are dark. There are some songs that are kind of you know blissfully. There's even some that sound good, but it has a sad meaning to it. I like that reverse play. It's ridiculous, but yeah.
I was going to ask you about music videos, but I see one right here.
Oh,
so.
Mercedes.
Yeah.
I love this one. You know, this was a great story behind this music video. This is a great story. So we were supposed to have a pool party. Okay. This was supposed to be a pool
Is this at the arcade?
party. Yes.
Okay.
But I was gonna say something.
But I did not shoot on the rooftop.
Okay.
Shot it in my apartment.
Oh, okay.
I did. So what's so interesting, I curate my apartment. So I have all this vintage furniture, and I really make sure that I pick pieces that I really resonate with. And this day, there was a huge thunderstorm, and we could not shoot a pool party.
Ooh.
It was, and I was like, oh my God, what are we going to do? Right? What are we going to do? And my friend Ken, he was like, oh, let's just go to Macy's, buy a bunch of really cool outfits, and just shoot. Let's just have a party in your apartment. And it was like when was it? It was like right before the pandemic.
There's some familiar faces in there.
All
like
St.
this
Louis
one.
people. This is my group of friends, you know.
Hey, everybody.
We just had some fun. Yeah, it was a really fun night.
Yeah, that's cool lighting. Yeah.
Yeah, and most of that was my lighting that I already had in there. I got a smoking violation for that. They fined me. Yeah, they fined me $125 for that little clip.
Oh,
Somebody rat you out?
Yes. Yes, they did.
You have snakes that live in that
that's
building.
stupid. No.
Slither through the marble.
But dude, I put you in the video. You're gonna rat me out? Fuck you. Like
I did. I got the letter and I went downstairs to the office and I was like, what is this? And they're like, Shaelyn, this is a public music video. Like we can't waive it. And I'm like, come on. It was just like, I was like, it wasn't even there. Like, it doesn't matter. And I'm like, oh my God. Okay.
Yeah, dude. It's a damn shame.
Right.
Are you working on any other music videos for the new song coming out? Good Girl?
Yeah. I'm just really trying to decide. So that's one of the hard parts I have. I can't ever decide what I want to do with it. But Good Girl, I definitely am going to shoot a music video for it. I know exactly who I'm going to hire to do it. It's just a matter of timing.
Now, have you ever considered like acting, you know, as far as like music, like just even like music videos? Yeah, there's always going to require acting. Have you ever thought about just doing that like on a free time or just whatever?
I was in a couple music videos. One of my first music videos I ever acted in was it was called Roll Up and Smoke by Yak Boy Fresh and Murphy Lee.
Oh, I've seen that video.
Wow. Yeah. I was the hippie girl.
Yeah.
Dancing
I
around.
saw that.
Oh, wow.
That was the throwback.
That was a fun shoot I saw.
That was in Los Angeles.
God, I think it's been a while since we've been in music videos. We did
I
like
haven't done
a
one in a
few
long
of
time.
these.
Yeah.
They're hard. First of all, finding the cast, paying everyone, making sure everyone's fed, the lighting. I mean, like, it's a lot. It is a whole lot.
What's your feeling? Do you let the director kind of go with his vision, or do you kind of have a vision in mind, because it's your song, obviously, of what you want? You know?
Yeah, so it's a little bit of both. So I have specific instructions. I want it to look like this. I need it to look like this. And then once we're on set, I very much take like an assistant director role, if you will, because I don't have experience directing full-fledged, you know, but I do know a little bit. So I studied mass media production in school. And so I know about headroom. I know about placement. I'm not very good at lighting. I'm not. But I know what it should look like inside of the frame. So I'm super specific about that. And I have a really good, keen eye for little things like hair, makeup. I want to make sure everyone looks good. And then I go through the edits and I'm like, okay, well, I don't really like the way that I look in this, I need it to change to this, or I need it to cut a little bit earlier because it feels a little too long. Like I always try and look at it from a consumer standpoint. So I have to like take my like education hat off and like put my consumer hat on. Anytime I feel like there's friction or any type of it just doesn't feel good, right? Like you can feel it. It's like a pressure, and not like a good pressure, like a negative pressure. Like that signals to me like this needs to change.
All right. Art, I know you dabbled, we talked about it earlier, in acting and other venues, so you pretty much just focused on music now, kind of.
Yeah.
You did modeling too and things.
Yeah. No, I really music is number one. I always just want to kind of focus on music, but if acting opportunities come up, I'll do it because I do think it's fun. I think it's fun to embody a character, even if you are the villain. Yeah, so I totally was. I was the villain, which is interesting because the character that I played on that show that I was the villain was the exact opposite of who I actually am, right? So I really had to like hone in and figure out like who she was. And I didn't really enjoy that I played myself in that way because that's so far off from who I am. I wish I would have been given a name.
Right.
I wish I was a villain. Jeez.
It's fun playing the villain. It really
is.
is. Yeah,
I think it was fun to play a villain.
It's super fun.
Any other questions you have, Keenan?
So as far as, experience, like with just everything that we talked about and everything that you've been through, like from the music videos, the music itself, putting on the concerts, getting your people together, communities and all that. So like, if life had to call it a day, life is done. Like, what would be the one thing that we want to remember about Shaelyn? Like, what would be the one thing that you want the world to understand what you have done to really serve your life here? Like, what would be the thing for you?
Like, I really actually went after my dream, and I'm still doing it. And I think that it's when people watch it, I think people don't realize that an overnight success takes 10 to 15 years. Yeah, and when it happens, it happens in an instant. And it's because you have formulated a contract with the people that have the funding to make it happen in an instant. It is very, very, very expensive to break an artist. The music industry is kind of freaking out right now because of it. You can go viral and people will forget about you the next day. So that's not the goal. The goal is not for me to go viral. The goal is to make a lasting impact. So I really want people to understand that if anyone ever, like, the one thing is, like, I took a risk and I kept with it. Like, I'll never give up. Because, and my driving force behind it was once I started this, I just always want to see how far I can go. Yeah. Because I would just kick myself if I'm 89 years old. I never want to wake up one day and think, I wonder what would have happened if, right? Mm-hmm. And I don't feel that way about love. I don't feel that way about relationships. I don't feel that way about my day-to-day, hustles, whatever. But I do feel that way about music. I don't ever want to wake up and say, I wonder what would have happened if.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I do say that to a lot of people too. I think for me personally, everyone wants to do something, like whether you love it, whether you like it, whether it's just something that really, catch your eye. Just keep going. I think for all of us here, everyone wants to make an impact. Everyone wants to, really follow what they want to go for. And if things fail, that's fine.
It's
just
okay.
go for alternatives.
Do you know how many times I've failed?
That's the purpose.
I've failed more times than I can succeed. I think anyone that is really good at what they do, anyone, especially any major artists, like people that, are very successful, they have failed more times than they have succeeded, because it takes all of these failures to learn that magic formula to actually get it to success. Like, it's like you're turning a dial slowly and surely, like, okay, I want to do this. Let's do this. Okay, I could have done this instead. And then you just keep turning that dial until you hit max.
Well, I will say this once again, throughout the years I've been knowing, at least a year or so, knowing you and seeing what you do and just hearing, your history as of now, like I said, I'm very, very proud of you. I'm very proud of you doing what you do. You love what you love, and not just because it makes you, but it builds you and it builds other people. And you definitely are an inspiration to some, whether young people, whether it be old people, dead people. I mean, everyone's everyone, and they look at somebody and they think, wow, I want to be just like that person. So, you keep doing your thing. I'm going to support you no matter what happens out here. So always show you love and just show your appreciation of music.
Thank you. I will say this. like to anyone that wants to go after, it doesn't have to be music. It doesn't have to be something creative. It could be as simple as like working on cars and being a mechanic or whatever. You have to do what makes your heart beat fast. Okay. Because you're going to have days that you don't love it. That's inevitable. Right. But my dad told me that if you do something you love, you will never work a day in your life.
Well, I want to hear, so you can, we have the link to her webpage on the description of this video. You can check her out on Facebook. Here's her webpage right here.
Thank you. Yeah. Works very hard on
YouTube. Spotify,
and I just followed.
And then there's a link tree where you can get all the social media links. So I also want to shout out real quick to our new website that just went live.
Yes.
The Artist United Network.
Yeah. Look at that.
So definitely check that out. So
and thank you so much for having me. You know, I'm a huge fan of Artists United. So
well, that's good.
Make sure you guys follow, obviously.
That's good. Yeah. So it's good to see you again. Yeah, it's been a while. It's been a while. I'll definitely make it out to the next show. So thank you again for watching. Do one more shout out to your Kicking with Keenan.
Oh yes, I got one person I'm gonna try to get on here. I'm gonna try to work out some details, but always check out Kicking with Keenan. I like to get guests on the show. For those of you that want to be a guest on the show, do not be shy. Do not be afraid to hit me up. You can hit me up on Messenger, Instagram, wherever the case is. We can rather do in here studio or we can do video call. I don't care how. We're going to kick it, all right? That's how we did. All right, so thank you, Shaelyn, for coming on the
Thank you so much.
Show.
Yes.
Thank you for having me.
And also support the network and the website. Dustin's been doing a whole lot of work on this, so, you know, let's get this thing going.
Mm-hmm.
All right, thank you, and we'll see you guys again next time.
Awesome.
Daily Dirt.
I'm about to dig the Daily Dirt with Dustin Diggs. The Daily Dirt with Dustin Diggs.